name is Glenn Andrew, and today we are lucky enough to be at the Dullstroom Bird of Prey Centre. Very rainy day, and joining us is Mark Bett, who is one of the owners of the Bird of Prey Centre. Thank you very much for talking to us, Mark. It's a pleasure. Just tell us a bit about what the Bird of Prey Centre does.
Well, basically the Bird of Prey Centre is a rehabilitation centre. So we're almost like a Bird of Prey hospital. It's our job to try and rehabilitate back into the wild injured or orphaned birds of prey that come into us. They come into us from various sources, from vets, from the Parks Board, from members of the public. And it's our job to, well, the vet's job to basically mend the birds, and then it's our job to try and get them fit and strong, and hopefully, if we can, release them back into the wild if we can. We also have, obviously, birds on display here. Birds that can't be released, we will provide a home for, as long as they're getting a decent quality of life. So we have lots of birds on display at the centre for members of the public to basically come and view, obviously from an educational point of view as well.
And just another question is, how long does it normally take? I suppose it depends what's wrong with the bird, but a bird could come in for a month, or 2 months.
Yeah. We can, we try and release the birds if we can as quickly as possible. Some birds are in 24 hours. They've maybe flown into a window. They've just got a bit of concussion, so we keep them for 24 hours and release them as quickly as possible. Some birds we've had here over a year, 18 months. Broken wings, broken legs can take a long time to get better. The important thing also with birds of prey is fitness. If a bird comes into us with a broken leg, that leg could mend within about 6 to 8 weeks. But in that 6 to 8 weeks, the bird's lost a lot of fitness, a lot of muscle, a lot of conditioning. So for us to immediately go out and release that bird into the veld, it's going to die. A bird of prey hunts, it has to be fit to chase prey and catch prey. So an important part of the work is building fitness, so we quite often train them using falconry techniques. We fly them, so they're coming back to us, we can exercise them, and then when we feel they've gained enough fitness to be able to survive in the wild, then they can be released. So a lot of them can be long-term projects.
And I presume keeping a bird and rehabilitating a bird can be quite costly.
Can be quite costly. Our vet bills obviously can be very high. Our vet is very good to us. He doesn't charge us any consultancy or his time, but he still charges us obviously for materials, antibiotics, that kind of stuff. And obviously while they're here, we've got to feed the things. So obviously it can be pretty expensive, yeah.
So how is the Bird of Prey Centre funded?
We're open to the public, so we charge an entrance fee for people to visit us. So that is probably our main source of income. The guys can wander around, look at the birds. We obviously do shows as well during the day where we free fly the birds, so we charge for that. We do run an adoption scheme which allows people to adopt one of our birds for a year. So they're basically in charge of that bird. They obviously don't take it home, it stays here, but they're providing for that bird and helping to support the centre also. And just gets people involved in the centre, and they feel like they're part of the work that we do here as well. Corporate sponsorship we get a little bit, not a lot I have to say, but that's also partly our fault because we don't really go looking for it, being shy and retiring as I am. We don't sort of go and chase people for money, and so we basically get what kind of comes into us. That will probably have to change maybe in the next few years. We might have to start going looking for a bit more corporate, but at the moment sponsorship and entrance fee. And I also do away shows, so I'll visit schools. I'll visit corporate events, country fairs, which we charge for as well, and that also helps to supplement the income and to keep the centre going. Yeah.
And typically to adopt a bird would cost?
We charge to adopt a bird for a year 850 Rand if it's done by a family or private individuals. If a company wants to sponsor a bird for a year, we charge 1,500 Rand, and for that we provide a mounted photograph of the bird for the people to take home with their name on and the Bird of Prey Centre name on there. We do a monthly newsletter which goes out to people, letting them know any interesting stories, injured birds coming in, new birds in the shows. If we've done any TV work, we let people know when that's likely to be on TV as well. And then goes onto our website, a list of sponsors on our website as well, yeah. We also get the sponsors involved in the centre, so if we need anything in particular, we maybe need towels that we use in our hospital for the birds, old towels, that kind of thing. We obviously let the sponsors know. If we have injured birds, maybe in Joburg or Pretoria or somewhere around the country, if we've got sponsors there, we'll ask, are you coming through to Dullstroom, can you bring the bird through for us? So they also get involved in the centre's work as well.
Okay, that's great. It's nice to see that you guys are doing this kind of work. I've also been approached or asked a question that people say, is it cruel to keep a bird of captivity in prey? I suppose in your scenario, being a rehabilitation kind, but it's fine. But let's say someone got a bird and it's a bird of prey and they put it in a cage or in an enclosure.
Okay, well first of all it's illegal to have a bird of prey in captivity unless you're a rehabilitation centre or you're a qualified falconer. Falconry is where you go hunting with birds of prey. That's perfectly legal. I'm a falconer myself. That's how I got into the whole bird of prey thing, was through hunting with them. But it's a strict criteria. You have to serve an apprenticeship, you have to pass exams, you're monitored by the Parks Board and the Falconry Club with what you're actually doing. So it's very much governed what you're allowed to do. But for a private individual to maybe find an owl, put it in an aviary in their garden is illegal. To have any wild animal in captivity without a permit is illegal. And the main reason why it's not a very good thing is birds of prey don't make good pets. They're not very social. In the wild they're pretty much spend most of their time on their own. They're not gregarious, they don't really live in flocks and groups and interact with each other, so they don't make very good pets. They don't like interacting with humans. Our birds here that we train, that we fly, are not coming back to us because they love us. They're not coming back to us because they like us. They're coming back to us because we're a food provider. They're trained on positive reinforcement with food reward, and that's the only reason why they're coming back. So to keep a wild animal, I think, in somebody's garden, and certainly sometimes in captivity is not a good thing to do. We obviously don't have a choice here. We do have birds in enclosures here, but they're birds that have come into us as rehab birds that maybe can't be released, and we try and make our enclosures as bird friendly as possible. It's obviously important for us as well as an education perspective. People come here, they can see black eagles close up, fish eagles, vultures, falcons, owls close up. So to a certain degree there is a necessity for places like us, and to a certain degree zoos from an educational point of view. And the other important work we do here as well is captive breeding. Some of our birds that can't be released into the wild, we obviously make up a pair, get a male and a female into an enclosure, we can captive breed, and then the nice thing is with birds of prey, the youngsters can then be successfully released into the wild, and without keeping them in captivity or an enclosure of some sort, that would also be impossible now.
What should someone do if they find an injured or an abandoned bird of prey? What is the steps or processes? What is the immediate thing they should do?
Okay, with an injured bird of prey or injured animal of any kind, you really need to bring them through to a rehab centre. So somebody like us, every province has a rehab centre. If you don't know of a rehab centre, speak to a local vet. Most of the local vets will know of somebody in the area that will take the animal in or the bird in, or just take the bird to the vet. If somebody brings us in an injured bird here, we take it, but our immediate thing is to take it through to the vet. They need to x-ray, assess, and make a plan from there. Abandoned birds, orphan birds, this is a bit of a tricky one, because quite often young birds of prey will fall out of the nest. They're not injured in any way, and then unfortunately people pick them up, take them home, and then they try and look after them. And birds can be imprinted. If you find a baby bird and you take it home and you hand raise it one-on-one, that bird will imprint on a human, and unfortunately it's unreleasable. We can teach them to hunt, and they would survive in the wild, but they're never going to breed naturally. And birds of prey, hand raised, can also get very aggressive towards humans. They think they're a human, they're not scared of you. Birds of prey being very territorial, if you release them into the wild and they've been hand raised, they're going to chase a human away because they think they're a human. So the best thing to do, first of all, if you find a baby bird that's fallen out of its nest, if it's quite safe, leave it where it is. Quite often the parents will come down on the floor and feed it on the floor. If it's not safe, it might be in your garden, or you're worried about leaving it on the floor, it's going to be taken by a predator. You can pick a baby bird up, put it back in the nest if you can reach the nest. If you can't reach the nest, just get it up off the ground somewhere safe and and the parents will come and feed it there. And it's an old wives' tale that if you touch a baby bird, the parents will smell that you've touched it and reject it. Most birds have a very poor sense of smell, so that's a myth, basically.
That's something that has always been told to me. You just clarified that for me.
Yeah, me also, as a child, I was told that don't touch them, but very poor sense of smell. So you can pick them up bare hands, you don't have to use gloves, get them back in the nest or up off the ground and let the parents raise them and do the job. And if all else fails, let nature take its course. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Again, you can bring them through to a rehab centre as a baby. We have ways of getting around the whole imprinting thing. Most people have seen documentaries where they feed birds with a puppet, so it's imprinting on the puppet and not the person. So we can also do that as well. So that's also another option later on, yeah.
We've seen, or I've walked around the facilities and I see, aside from the rehabilitation that you're doing with the birds, you offer quite a few other facilities. Can you just tell us a bit about those?
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, we struggle to get people in to visit the centre. A lot of people don't understand the concept of what we do here, from captive breeding and rehab, and, you know, okay, birds of prey in cages or whatever, they're not that maybe interested in coming to look at what we've got here. So we've had to diversify a little bit to try and bring families in. So we have a restaurant on site, we have a jungle gym for the kids, we also have a trout dam for the kids to fish. We've made it nice and easy for me also, because I'm not a very good fisherman, so we make it nice and easy. The kids can come and use a fly, they can use bait, they can spin for the trout as well. They keep the trout. Unfortunately, it's not a catch and release, they have to keep the trout, but the restaurant on site will also cook that for them as well. So we tried to make it a whole day experience, rather than just come in, look at the birds, see a show and go. You know, mum and dad can sit on the deck having a glass of wine or a beer or a bit of lunch. The kids can be fishing, they can be playing on the jungle gym. So we've had to add other attractions to the centre as well, just to increase the number of people coming in to allow us to survive. Yeah.
I mean, generally the cost of the 40 rand for the adults and the 15 rand for kids,
yeah,
you can come into the facility and spend the whole day.
For sure, yeah.
And come to the cafeteria all
yeah,
day.
yeah.
That'll make a lot of sense for people. I'm sure a lot of people don't actually know that the Bird of Prey Centre offers those facilities as well until they get here.
For sure, yeah. I mean, they're all fairly new as well. The dam's fairly new, jungle gym, the restaurant's been around for a while. But you know, again, the problem is for somebody like us to do advertising costs money. So we advertise obviously locally in Dullstroom. Most people know what we can do here. But yeah, there's lots for people to do. They can spend the whole day here. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you ended up in South Africa, and particularly how you ended up in this industry.
Okay, well, from a child, I've been flying birds now from about 12, 13 years old. In the UK, I've been in South Africa now for just coming up to 7 years. But in the UK, it was purely a hobby. My profession is engineering. That was my background. I went to university. And my career in England was engineering, but falconry has been a passion since a small child. And then how I came about being out here, I actually just came out here on holiday in 2003 to visit Mark Holder, the other owner of the centre. And while I was here, Mark had recently bought the site that we're on now, the farm that we're on, because the centre used to be on a rented property. And Mark wanted to move the centre here. He wanted to move, excuse me. He wanted to move the centre here, but he needed somebody to come and help him finance that and help him out here. So less than a year later, I was here in South Africa. So
and you're glad to be here?
I love it here, yeah. Although the weather today in Dullstroom isn't really what I would expect, but yeah, no, I love it here. You know, I'm getting to do what is my passion as a job, and very few people get to do that. So we're very lucky. Beer's cheap. I met my wife here as well. Okay, the rugby and the sport will suck a little bit now and again, but you have to put up with a few things. Exactly.
Coming back to birds, what is the primary diet of these birds, and how much do they actually eat?
Here we feed predominantly day-old cockerel chicks, day-old chickens, which is a waste product of the commercial chicken industry. So we get them donated. We have to drive through to the hatchery and bronco spray to pick those up, and we feed those here. We breed rats here. We breed quail to basically give them a bit of a varied diet. We also buy in food from abattoirs, so anything not fit for human consumption we buy in here to use predominantly for the vultures and the large eagles. In the wild, birds of prey obviously feeding on predominantly rats, mice, birds, other birds. They'll feed on insects as well, and obviously depending on the species, some birds of prey will scavenge, vultures being the obvious bird that will come down and feed on dead stuff. Buzzards also, there's several buzzard species that you find here, they're also quite happy to feed on roadkill, anything that's died basically.
I'm definitely a lover of owls, so how would I encourage to get an owl in my garden? Because you see them flying around the cities and stuff.
For sure, yeah. For people living in cities, the most common owl you're going to see is the spotted eagle owl. In fact, that's your most common owl found in South Africa. And funnily enough, the biggest concentration of spotted eagle owls in the whole of South Africa is found throughout Joburg, Pretoria, all the way through to Krugersdorp. So just because you live in the city, don't think that you're not going to see birds of prey. They are there. The best way to encourage them is to put up an owl box. There's been a lot of stuff work in the media regarding owl boxes. They do work. You sometimes have to be a little bit patient, but put an owl box up in your garden. All you're doing is providing a nest site for them. Spotted eagle owls have become urban birds of prey because where there's people create rubbish. Where there's rubbish, you find rats and mice. In your gardens, you have irrigation systems, sprinkler systems. When you spray and irrigate the lawn, it brings up the worms and the bugs, and spotted eagle owls will feed on there. Outside lights in your gardens at night time encourages moths. They will feed on those as well. So they're there because the food's there. What they don't sometimes have is a nesting place. So put up an owl box in your garden, very much will encourage the owls in. And I talked a little bit earlier about hand raising baby birds if you pick them up. Birds also imprint on where they're born. So a bird that's born in a tree nest, when it becomes breeding age, will naturally go to a tree. A bird born on a rock face will naturally go to a rock face. So as more and more spotted eagle owls are born in boxes, when they come to breeding age, they're naturally going to go looking for a box. So over the next few years, we'll see a definite increase in owls breeding. That
forms part of your breeding program as well, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. We obviously captive breed here. Our birds here are born in boxes. Owl boxes that we put up in our enclosure, so when we release those birds, we always release them in an area where we know there's boxes up for them to breed as well, so that obviously helps them out as well, yeah.
Mark, what can we do as individuals or communities to ensure the future of birds of prey?
I think the biggest thing is awareness, more than anything else, is knowing what birds of prey you've got in your area, knowing what birds live there, nest there, so you can be aware of them being there. So, you know, if suddenly a development is put forward in a certain area, the people know what birds of prey are living there, so a plan can be made to either allow the birds to survive there with the development going on as well, or, and I know it's very difficult because obviously we're progressive and sometimes to stop the development. We were taking some photographs earlier of grass owls in one of the areas. Now, grass owl is classed as an endangered species. They're nesting in open felt type areas, long grass areas. You know, the next thing a housing development is put there or a factory is built there, you know, you need to be aware of what's being there. I'm not saying that necessarily that development has to stop, but a lot of these developments can be built sympathetically with the birds and with the animals that are in the area. So I think above all anything else, things like owl boxes very much providing nest sites, but above all else it's awareness of knowing what's there, what's living in the area, and being able to help them if necessary.
Now, someone wants to visit the centre. Yep. What are your contact details and what are your hours of work, and can you give us a bit of a background? Have you got a website?
For sure, we've got a website. Our website is www.birdsofprey, all one word, .co.za. We have an email address which is Falconer, Falconer, Falconer @dullstroom.net. Unfortunately, we don't have a landline, but we do have cell phone numbers, which if you go onto the website, both of our cell phone numbers are on there, so you can contact us on those. We're open 7 days a week. We only close on Christmas Day. Okay, so the centre opens at 9, closes at 4. And we, at the moment, do 2 shows during the day. Our morning show is 10:30, our afternoon show is 2:30 in the afternoon, but open 7 days a week. You don't need to book unless you maybe want to bring a group. If you want to bring a tour group or a company wants to bring a group along, then the best thing to do is to give us a bit of an advance warning. And what we tend to do for a corporate group or a big group, we'll actually do you a special show. So sometimes we'll slot a show at 12:30, 1 o'clock or whatever, because it's nice if it's a group to kind of keep that group together, so we can arrange, if necessary, special groups. Just coming back to the additional things that we can offer as well, we do a few little special things as well. We offer photographic days here as well. So if you're particularly into your photography or you're a member of a photographic group, we can do photographic tours for you as well, where we allow you into some of the aviaries. We'll do a special demonstration for you where we allow you to approach the birds much closer. We can put them in a bit more of a natural environment for photographic days. We also do offer experience days here, where people come along for half a day. We go a little bit more into the training and the equipment of the birds, and you get to fly some of our birds and handle some of our birds as well. So those are also additional things that we can offer you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for talking to us today.
My pleasure.
We wish you and the Bird of Prey Centre all the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for being a guardian of our natural resources here in South Africa. We need many more people like you, and I think we need a lot of education into what is going on and how we can help to ensure that our natural resources stay safe for our kids to see. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.